This is a multi-network demonstration in the Core Network emulator. I'm not going to go over the subnetting parts. That should have been done previously as the first half of this assignment. This part is taking care of getting your subnets translated to real networks, and that's what the Core helps you do. It's a great visualization tool. So let's start with some organization on our chart. Let's change the color just a little bit. Call it whatever you want. We'll call this one Classroom 1 and add the rectangle. Also, in here, I'd like you to add somewhere in there the network address block for that network that you're using. So we'll add some more text to that. Okay. And you can just move that over wherever you want it to be. That just makes it easier to see what you're doing when I'm looking at it later. I'll add another rectangle right here. Let's call that Classroom 2. And you should add at least one router in there. And within the classrooms, you're going to want to add some hosts. Now you don't need to do a bunch of hosts. Just do at least 3, and you can do as many as you want, but I think at least 3 will give you a good a representation of the network. Now, before you go to hook up the classrooms, if you put a switch in between them, it will keep them all on the same link local network there. Okay, notice as we start here connecting our router to our switches, we're going to get the IP address dynamically added for us up here. Now, chances are that's not the IP address that you want. So if I click on the selection tool, double click on the router, you can actually configure the router and change the IP addresses. You can get rid of IPv6 addresses. We're not going to be using those right now. And then you can change the addresses here to be whatever the addresses are that you will be using. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to keep them as they are, and we'll leave those there. Now just remember, when you are assigning addresses to the router, you should use the first usable address, and that will allow Core to work when you're trying to do your pings. If you don't give the router the first usable address, Core gets confused. In a real network, you can give your router any address you want, and then you have to go and make sure you configure things that way. In Core, technically, you can configure the router with any address you want, but you have to go in and manually configure each of your hosts so that it knows the address of that router. For the purpose of this demonstration, we are just going to let Core dynamically add the IP addresses for us based on the addresses we've given here. So go back to our link tool, and we'll hook up some of these hosts. Now, Core does a pretty good job assigning the IP addresses for you. However, it doesn't get it right all the time. So you may have to go in and actually change the addresses, double check them, and make sure that they are the addresses that you want. And if you need to, click on the selection tool, double click the host. You can go in and you can change that IP address to an IP address that you need. Once everything's hooked up, we're going to go in and we'll start the session. Now that everything's green, we can ping between the two classrooms and we can ping the broadcast. So starting one of our hosts, we'll open a bash window and we will ping. Let's ping this node 7 right here. We'll go ahead and ping and then you can see that it is indeed sending requests out to that node from one classroom to another. Now you can go ahead and you can take a screenshot right here, and this would suffice for showing that you are pinging back and forth between the two classrooms. Just when you're taking your screenshot, you're going to actually do a couple. So you'll have a screenshot of this. You'll have a screenshot of just this so that it's not covered up. And then you'll have a screenshot of your broadcast one as well. So if we ping the broadcast address, and we check any of our nodes over here using TCP dump or Wireshark, you can see these ICMP echo requests coming through here. However, if we were to come over here and do the same thing, you'd notice that it's listening, but we aren't getting those ICMP echo requests coming through. They all stayed within this local network here. Now, don't forget to take your screenshots. Again, if your screenshot is like this or like this, I can't see the network behind you, so you need to make sure you got the screenshot of the network behind you as well as pinging the broadcast and from classroom to classroom. Okay, that is it.